Alrighty, folks, there you have it. Shania Twain. Doesn't that give you hope that there is light at the end of the tunnel? No matter what you've been through to get where you are today, there is hope. Don't give up. Don't give up. That lady has done extremely well, and based on that, based on what you just saw, she's become a bit of a role model. But it's 15 minutes after the hour. Take a little break, and we shall return with the National Report.
One more on the road. Look, I find you had a little too much to drink, you know. Let me drive. Nah, man, I good.
Alcohol causes drowsiness, slow response time, distorted vision, impaired decision-making, blackouts, decreased coordination. Drinking water does not make you less drunk. Never drink and drive. It takes only a second.
Look, I'm really sorry.
Sorry? Sorry can't bring back my sister. You've been drinking. I can smell it. Why?
This message is brought to you by this group of insurance companies, the Traffic Advisory Body, and the Traffic Department.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Together with you, our customers, we energize our community.
Together with you, we energize our economy.
We are working together to give our nation a better tomorrow.
With you, we energize our future. Together, we energize our nation.
Thank you for partnering with us
as we energize our Speyside.
Renlec, energizing our Grenada. Inspection and licensing have begun, and at Hubbard's, we want you to be ready. From January to February 15th, we're offering vehicle owners with single registration letters 1 to 2,500 and plural registration letters 1 to 250, 10% off our new torque tires and Power Max batteries. Don't get caught unprepared. Visit us today at our motor department in Mungay or our tire bay in Grandance, located near Hubbard's Building Supplies.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Quad Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
Inspection and licensing have begun, and at Hubbard's, we want you to be ready. From January to February 15th, we're offering vehicle owners with single registration letters 1 to 2,500 and plural registration letters 1 to 250, 10% off our new torque tires and Power Max batteries. Don't get caught unprepared. Visit us today at our motor department in Mungay or our tire bay in Grandance, located near Hubbard's Building Supplies.
The Royal Grenada Police Force recognizes and honors service and conduct at first investiture ceremony. We'll have details to this story and more in the national report. With the details to the news for Wednesday, January 29th, 2020, I am Rikisha St. Louis. The Royal Grenada Police Force is now a more decorated unit, as over 300 police officers received ribbons and medals of honor on Wednesday. During the RGPF's inaugural investiture ceremony, officers from all units of the force were awarded for long service to the force and good conduct. Prime Minister and Minister for National Security, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, said the ceremony is indicative of the upward movement of the police force. He reminded the members of the force that the medals and ribbons come with additional responsibilities that they must adhere to.
That it's a good thing to have the medals. It's a good thing to have this motivational initiative. But, sisters and brothers, with the medals come additional responsibilities. Because if you wear the medal, then it means that wherever you are in terms of performance, the medals has to demonstrate an improvement in service and attitude and everything that goes with it. Because colleagues, we must know that in life, we must never be settled with where we are.
Acting Commissioner of Police Edwin Martin commended the officers for their service and due diligence to the country. He said the medals are cabinet approved and must be worn with pride.
This makes us decorated officers, which comes with great responsibility. A decorated officer will be expected by members of the public to exhibit special skills, character, and professional conduct. Please do not disappoint those expectations. And by your conduct, I urge you that from this day forth, if you have not done before, to demonstrate the level of discipline, attitude, and professionalism that will lift the bar to our next investiture program or ceremony next year.
The ribbons must be worn with the routine uniform, and both ribbons and medals must be worn on the ceremonial dress and number 2s. The Enterprise Business Development component of the Climate Smart Agriculture and Rural Enterprise Program SIAP is now a reality. It was launched on Wednesday by the government and the GIDC and will commence with training for 50 young people between the ages of 16 to 35. The month-long training will focus on remedial education. CEO of GIDC, Ronald Theodore, says the objective is that 500 individuals will be equipped with the skills and knowledge to start their own business.
At the end of the program, you will be equipped with essential knowledge in information communication technology, remedial math, remedial English, entrepreneurial skills development, grant proposal writing, and life skills. The ultimate goal is to furnish you with all the necessary tools and assets to be successful entrepreneurs. I wish you every success in this training program.
SIAP's project manager, Byron Campbell, encouraged the participants to focus on the prize at the end of the training when they can contribute towards the reduction of unemployment and poverty.
See it as a process. It's not just a training here, but the end result is to ensure that you can operate a successful small business. Successful business calls for work. It calls for dedicating your energy, your time, letting your friends, your family know what you're engaged in if you're going to be successful.
Business grant financing is available for individuals and groups.
The grant financing will allow you to fully implement your business idea. Firstly, to test it to determine whether or not it is something that is feasible, because we do not want to, provide financing for small businesses that at the end of the day would not be sustainable. So you have to test and determine whether or not this venture would be one that is lucrative and there is a market for what you're offering. After that, you will be able to fully implement your business by receiving the business grant financing. So we have the first push, which will allow you to test your idea, and thereafter the business grant financing. For the first push, we have financing of up to, for groups, $2,688, and of course for individuals, and for groups we have up to $6,000 for persons to access.
That was Project Coordinator Shivlin Noel. The second training session will be held at the training facility at Simone Industrial Park. Continuing with the news, the Parliamentary Elections Office says it is clear there is no need for any amendments to facilitate the replacement of voter identification cards, which will all expire on January 31st, 2020. This decision comes following detailed examination of the Representation of the People Act. In a press release dated January 28th, the Parliamentary Elections Office said it has been legally advised that the Act does not stipulate that voter identification cards will expire on any given date. Therefore, expiration dates are a matter for administration of the voter identification card system. As a result, the office has decided to proceed with the process of replacement of expired cards in keeping with the intent of the Act. Replacement of expired voter identification cards commences on Monday, 3rd February 2020 at the respective parliamentary elections offices between 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Lunch hour is 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. A registered elector is required to present his or her expired card, birth certificate or valid passport when making such an application. Thereafter, the applicant is expected to 1. Have his or her photograph taken, have his or her fingerprint scanned, renew his or her signature. The officer assures the public that all expired cards would be replaced at no cost to the applicant, and the office encourages applicants with changes in their registration information to use this opportunity to update the information at no cost. The Parliamentary Elections Office further advises that the voter registration process continues for all eligible persons. This is the National Report. More news after the break.
Big Parish, it's your turn on Saturday, February 1st to showcase your true patriotism as the St. Andrew Development Organization, in collaboration with the National Celebrations Committee, presents the 46th Independence Anniversary Cultural Extravaganza 2020. The action begins at 6 p.m. with the Flambeau March from the Old Church through the streets of Grenville. Then from 7 p.m. sharp, we move stateside at the Grenville Bus Terminal, where the best of Grenada will be on show, from Calypsonians to soca artists, dance troops, cultural groups, and much, much more. Celebrating 46 under the theme, as we prepare for the future through empowerment, growth, and long-term sustainable development. It's the 46th Independence Anniversary Cultural Extravaganza, Saturday, February 1st, Grenville Bus Terminal.
Welcome back. Grenada is poised for significant growth following a stellar tourism performance in 2019. The announcement was made on Tuesday by the Grenada Tourism Authority during a performance review press conference. Following its record-breaking 500,000 total visitor arrival in 2018, the island maintained its growth in 2019. Preliminary data shows visitor arrivals at 525,453. Stayover visitor arrivals accounted for 162,902, a 1% increase over 2018's 160,970 arrivals. Cruise arrivals accounted for 337,940 visitors. Royal Caribbean Cruise Line will increase its 2019 call from 19 to 29 in 2020, with Carnival Cruises planning 12 new calls throughout 2021. GTA's CEO Patricia Ma said growth will be unavoidable this year, with new hotels and cruise calls for the year ahead.
The Rex Grenadian has been closed since May of 2018, which is one of our largest hotels on island, and despite it being closed, we ended up 2019 with a 1% growth over 2018 in our visitor arrivals. Yeah, so that speaks for the destination's growth, the destination's potential, and of course that high demand with intrepid travellers. So moving on to the share of market, I think this is very interesting for us in Grenada, Carriacou and Petit Martinique to understand where our visitors are coming from. In actual fact, the United States of America accounts for 47% of our market share. 47% of the pie, the market share pie, come from the United States of America in 2019. So it's growing. And our second largest source market is indeed the Caribbean.
Ma said Grenada will continue to market the destination and dialogue with tourism partners to add value to the tourism package and attract more visitors.
We are very happy to share the groundbreaking happened before in 2019, but the Grenada, the destination, is getting a 6 Senses hotel, and the Grenada Hotel and Tourism Association can verify that that is breaking news for the Caribbean, because 6 Senses is a very strong brand in the Far East, in Asia. And we are the first destination in the Caribbean to get a 6 Senses brand hotel. We're going to get it in the beautiful parish of St. David's in La Sagesse, and it will have 100 upscale rooms, so it'll be a high-end property. There is supposed to be a 2-hotel development going on there, but that is what we know for now, and this is putting all eyes on the destination, quite frankly, across the Caribbean, that we're getting the first 6 Senses brand hotel for the region.
That story just ended the national report for today, Wednesday, January 29th, 2020. Let's recap the top story. The Royal Grenada Police Force recognizes and honors service and conduct at first investiture ceremony. On behalf of the entire news team here at the Government Information Service, I am Rakisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.
You know, as I sat here watching that newscast, I couldn't help but think back to the days when it was extremely rare to see more than one aircraft sitting on the tarmac down at Maurice Bishop. I just, watching that piece a little while ago about how well tourism's doing here in Grenada, yeah, we have come a long way. Actually, you probably saw for yourself just a few moments ago, there were 3 airlines parked there, 3, including JetBlue, American Airlines, and whoever. We have come a long way. No doubt there are people who are still going to criticize the tourism industry, and perhaps they're still correct in doing so. But I think we also need to admit that yes, there have been some remarkable strides in the past couple of years. We come a long way, we come a long way. Another thought that came to mind is, you know, every once in a while the Grenada Tourism Authority puts out a bit of a contest asking you to vote for so-and-so as the best beach, or vote for so-and-so as the best island, and in every case, vote Grenada, right? That's fine, I don't have a problem with that. But as part of that request, they also say to you, you can vote every day, as often as you wish. And I ask myself, when they tabulate and put out the results of those votes, those contests, those competitions, whatever you care to call them, how much credence would you give? It's not as if you or I voted. If you or I don't have anything to do but sit and vote all day, day, and the other islands may not have people who have that much time on their hands, I mean, how credible could the results be? I'm always baffled. How credible? And that's why I don't put any credence to the results when they come. Oh, Grenada was the top island. Grenada had the best beach. Grenada had the best restaurant. Please, stop mama-guying people in this day and age, man. Jeez. Well, I'll tell you what. We're obviously having some hiccups this morning because as I sit here looking at my browser, I see that I'm going out to you folks loud and clear. There it is, on Facebook, live, but I'm not seeing any numbers. And I have received a number of WhatsApps. There are people on Messenger. There are people who are calling, hey George, where are you this morning? So I'm a little bit puzzled as to why I'm seeing on the browser that we are going up to Facebook. But why is it only popping up here on my browser? I also noticed there are no comments on my browser. Okay, so something has gone wrong this morning between here and Facebook. I'm not sure what it is, but some more growing pains, some more growing pains. That's one of the issues that I'm dealing with this morning. The other issue is that I'm very, very surprised that Mr. Bierzynski hasn't arrived yet. Allan's usually pretty damn punctual, you know that, Amy. Well, Allan promised that he would be in here this morning for a 9:30 start. It's now 9:38. Huh? Yeah. And I have not seen Mr. Bierzynski. Take a look. See, there it is, the time, 9:38. So, not only is that surprising, I haven't heard from Allan I mean, usually something goes wrong, and this is the part that has me very worried, if you will. If something happened, I imagine that he would pick up the phone, give me a ding, send me a WhatsApp, or whatever. I haven't seen or heard from Allan. So, I say all of that to say that I'm a little bit confused. And what I'm going to do now is take another commercial break, which should give us about 3 minutes or so to hope that he shows up. And if not, we're going to have to pull the plug just a little bit early this morning. Right now, we still have, what, about 21 minutes on our hands. I can't say to you out there to keep me busy because for whatever reason, I'm not seeing your comments on Facebook this morning. So yeah, we're having a couple of issues this morning. It's not the first time, and I'm sure it's not going to be the last. But you notice that after every one of these issues, things get better and better and better. So, like Shania Twain, let's be hopeful that things eventually do pan out. How about that? That's what we're all about, right? Being optimistic, being positive. Break time.
Conveniently located in the Grandstand Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Grenada will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep.
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Hey, Lynn.
Hey, neighbor.
Here's the bill I asked you to pay for me.
How did you get your electricity bill to be so low?
For one, we size our transformers just for what we need. And we unplug transformers, chargers, and other devices when they're not in use. We also replaced our light bulbs with LEDs.
They burn less energy, right?
Much less. I even replaced the seal on my refrigerator door to keep the cold air in.
And Grenlec is always advising us not to open the fridge too often.
That's right. And my family washes and irons in bulk.
With fuel prices changing all the time, how do you know if it is working?
We pay attention to the usage history table. Over time, our average usage has decreased.
So while Grenada can't control fuel prices, I can conserve energy and save money.
Grenlec,
energizing our Grenada.
There he is, Mr. Allan Bierzynski. As he walked in here a few minutes ago, remember I told you I was just about to wet my diapers, and I said the same thing to him. Mr. Bierzynski, what was your response when I said that I'm about to wet my diapers?
I thought you needed adult size.
You thought what?
You needed adult size.
Adult size?
Pampers.
I didn't say I was about to wet my pampers. I said I was about to wet my diapers. How are you, Amy?
I'm good.
Yeah?
So, you know, we're coming up into the carnival season in Carriacou.
You're thinking that far ahead?
Trinidad. Yeah, it's just about, what, 2 weeks?
Yeah, okay.
3 weeks.
You going up?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Have you ever been?
To Carriacou Carnival?
Yeah.
No. That is not the sort of activity that
I see.
would attract me.
I see. Okay.
Because long ago, when you had the more cultural aspects highlighted, the traditional mass, the Shakespeare and so forth, that might have been of interest.
Oh, okay.
But I do not need to travel to Carriacou to see Johnny.
Okay, you have enough here. Yeah. So,
Calypso.
You said we're coming up to Carnival. So
yeah, Calypso. Calypso, as we know, it has a long tradition of storytelling, and I was thinking in particular in the early 1960s, 60 or 61, when the Congo was granted independence by the former colonial power Belgium. There were a series of conflicts because the Congo was a very large country in the middle of the African continent. And in the course of the various struggles, civil wars, generally over control of resources, I think the eastern province of Katanga under General Kasavubu chose not to accede to the sovereignty of the central government. Patrice Lumumba, the first democratically elected president, was assassinated by Joseph Mobutu with the active support of the CIA and the Western interests, who were engaged at that time in the midst of the Cold War against the interests of the Soviet Union. But what does this have to do with Calypso?
I'm wondering.
The Mighty Sparrow wrote a very clever Calypso. I cannot say that it was inspired by the events, but what happened during that civil war, that struggle, was that the Congolese rebels against the central government were accused of the rape and murder of Belgian Catholic nuns. So as I say, that is a fact of history. It is also a fact that Sparrow penned a calypso called Congo Man, the basic premise of which is that traveling through Africa, fell into the hands of an African headhunter He made two item and he cook up one and he eat one raw. It tastes so good, he wanted more. Again, I cannot say that the source of the calypso, that the idea of the calypso came from the unfortunate events that took place during the Civil War. But going forward many years, Lord Superior actually composed a very clever calypso called Black Coffee. And that had to do with him tracing the story of American independence from the Boston Tea Party, when, according to Superior, it was the policy that in the White House they would serve tea. And this continued for a long time, including the fact that under a certain dynasty of presidents that they served Bush tea. And this was interrupted only by some Clinton tea. And in each instance he was able to, in rhyme, explain what the different types of beverage did. In particular, when they were drinking Clinton tea, that it had allegedly aphrodisiac qualities. But then they got to 2008, when for the first time the policy was changed, and so it then became apparent that it was possible for a citizen and his spouse to be drinking black coffee in the White House. A very clever calypso. And it charted a long course of events regarding the policy of the preferred beverage in the White House. And what brought this up is that I saw on your WhatsApp chat group a video of a Calypsonian in Trinidad who has taken the subject of the recent movement out of the royal household of Prince Harry and his wife. Meghan. It is not recent anymore because they've actually had offspring. But the Calypsonian, who is female and is clearly of African descent, makes the argument, which is not original, because this is why I went back to Sparrow and I referred to Lord Superior, but is making the argument about Harry having left the royal household ostensibly because he tasted black meat. It's a fairly common calypso, but nevertheless. It started me thinking about one of the lines in the calypso, which has to do, once you go black, you don't go back.
Yes, yes.
And this in itself is an extremely offensive racial trope. It is a stereotype that goes back to the days of slavery. And it has to do with one aspect of it, with the legend that persons, males of African descent, are endowed by the Creator with certain uncontestable advantages, which would result in the recipient of those advantages not being able to go back to anything that they may have experienced previously. Innate in that is the idea of sexual violence. Innate in that is the concept that other races must be protected from the predatory proclivities of the males of African descent. And the consequence of that was the Jim Crow laws, the construct that took place after the American Civil War, which led to the lynching between 1868 and possibly up to the 1960s, of some 4,000 plus black men and some women. Extrajudicial killings which took place mainly in the southern states of the United States of America, which led to the flight, or you can call it the exodus if you wish, of African Americans from the southern states to the north, where the conditions were perhaps at the end of it not that far removed from what they fled in the south. They now are faced with the vast majority of southern senators who, on the face of it, while they have the Bible in one hand and an assault rifle in the other, are predisposed to perpetuating in office perhaps one of the most unfit individuals for public office who has ever occupied the seat of the White House. And later on this week, tomorrow in fact, it is indeed possible that we will find out what these Bible-thumping, gun-toting senators, mainly from the southern states and Midwestern states, believe are the powers of the president. But, as the saying goes, I digress, because I am equally concerned that the message being conveyed by this female Calypsonian in Trinidad of African descent, when she is promoting the stereotype of the black woman being a Jezebel, that once you taste that, you're not going back from whence you came. But the origin of it, as I said earlier, has to do with a different racial stereotype. And as you expand it, you can find where opinion has been expressed that another meaning has to do with the fact, again coming from the Jim Crow South, that once relations have taken place between the races, you cannot be accepted in the family or the community from which you have apparently strayed. Once you go black, you can't go back. That is one meaning of it. But here, as I wrap up, is the conundrum. While we have the image of this very attractive black woman with her natural hair, and she makes the point in the video of touching the afro and saying, "All mine." Black women worldwide are bleaching their skins and putting on false weaves and wigs and eyelashes and everything else in complete contrast to the mantra that we had during the late 60s and early 70s, and most eloquently expressed by the mighty Duke in his Calypso, "Black is beautiful." And I'm done.
You done? You know, Amy, something you said just jumped out at me a little while ago. I think it was last night. I was watching just a very, very brief part of the impeachment hearings. And I got the impression that, I don't remember which senator it was, but he was trying to make the point that essentially the president has the right to do anything he wishes to do, as long as he thinks it's in the best interest of the nation.
And the Professor Allan Bierzynski-at-large, who is on the team, said that as long as the individual who holds the office of president believes that what he is doing will assist his re-election,
yes,
and that is in the public interest, that his re-election would be in the public interest, Well, that argument has been met with derision from legal scholars all over the U.S. However, those legal scholars are not the ones who constitute the jury sitting on this impeachment trial, a majority of whom I describe as Bible-thumping, gun-toting representatives of the states in the South and the Midwest, whom time has apparently passed by.
Have you been, I imagine you've been closely following the impeachment hearings?
Yes.
Yes, sir. And you are of the opinion that tomorrow we may have something definite?
Yes, because if McConnell, the leader of the Senate, the majority in the Senate, if he is successful in getting enough votes to deny the calling of witnesses, the next step appears to be to call for a vote to acquit. And they have the majority. And all you need is a simple majority.
Okay. All right, Allan. Let's see what happens tomorrow. AB, on another note, big talk in this country nowadays about coronavirus. I notice you haven't even blinked. Are you at all concerned about this coming year?
We went through this with SARS, so we know the protocols to be followed. You remember SARS?
Yes.
Good. So we avoided large groups of people. We stopped exchanging handshakes for the sign of peace in church. We wore masks, those of us who wish to do so, if we are going to a public gathering. We washed our hands and we were careful about coughing and sneezing. Common sense. Remember, this is not Ebola. The effects are those of a bad pneumonia, and therefore the people who will succumb are those who are typically very young or very old or already have compromised immune systems. None of the above apply to me, and so I will continue to exercise discretion.
The last figure I heard last night was that it's up to 171 now. Have you heard that?
I heard 172 this morning,
okay.
And about 7,700 reported cases.
Yeah.
So I take the view that the more reported cases we hear, the less is the proportion of mortality.
Okay.
Which is good, because with SARS, I think it was 1% mortality rate.
Okay.
If you think about 1 in every 100 people dying, it's bad, but it's not panic.
The Ministry of Health has indicated that the risk of this virus to the Caribbean is moderate. That's our Ministry of Health. Yet the World Health Organization says it's a high global risk.
Absolutely. Think of where you have 1 billion plus people in China. You have 1 million people in Western China in concentration camps for re-education. That is the Muslim Uyghur ethnic subgroup. If that virus gets to people in prisons or camps, it's going to have a devastating effect. I'm certain of that. But the Chinese government, and look on the bright side, if you have a communist government that controls everything, information, borders, transport, it means that they are better equipped than most countries to contain the virus until it has run its course. If you think, how was Ebola contained? Basically, the army would quarantine the villages where there was an outbreak and wait for people to die. The survivors were those who had immune systems which somehow were able to survive the effects of Ebola. And those are the people who were studied, and that is what led to the development of a vaccine. No vaccine is 100% effective, but there is an Ebola vaccine which was developed after testing the survivors of these villages where the outbreak was contained. And this is the essence of quarantine. You ensure that there is no movement in or out of the affected area. So, Wuhan in China is the affected area. That presumably is on lockdown. I saw a figure somewhere, some 52 million people. The mind boggles. But concerns are already being raised as to what is the impact on world trade. Because you have airlines which operate on small margins, are dependent on volume. And if there are no passengers and if there are no flights, they lose money by the millions of dollars on a daily basis. You have your regular supply chain. Anything you open on your desk, I suspect will have components made in China. That supply chain is going to be disrupted. So we don't know how long it will be before this virus runs its course, but all that we can hope and pray for is that the containment taking place in China will allow for it to run its course sooner rather than later.
And you believe that the Chinese are putting out the accurate information about the containment?
I believe nothing that comes from official sources, and particularly from communist countries.
See, yes, and that's the direction that I'm heading here, Alan, because I've also heard it said that this virus is unlikely to come to the Caribbean. And you know, when you see how many countries around the world have already been infected, I'm trying to figure out on what premise.
Yeah, the question is, how were they infected? Because of travelers. Remember, this is human to human. So if you know what your ports of entry are by air, those are easier to control. Where you have ports of entry by sea, it's a different matter.
Yeah.
But at least if it's by sea, then you have to be aware of the human beings on the vessels. When did they leave China? Which port in China did they leave from? Because presumably Shanghai is a big port, I guess. We haven't heard any reports about Shanghai. But basic common sense and prudence should keep us away from the risk of infection. So the WHO is correct in saying that there's a moderate level.
WHO is saying there's a high global risk. It's our ministry that's saying
it's moderate. Yeah, I would agree with that at this time, because I mean, apart from the 8 Chinese investors who arrived here, we have no direct air links with China. I don't know that we have any significant Chinese tourism yet, but so I would agree that at this time it's moderate, and so we've already seen reports on social media that the Chinese themselves are apparently buying disinfectant by the case.
Sharon was sitting here yesterday, and she said she ran into a bunch of them down at Foodland. Personally, this is not hearsay. Yeah. She ran into this personally. Let me ask you this. You mentioned the guys who arrived at the airport, and I know that apart from WhatsApp, I don't think you're very big into social media, but I'm assuming that you may have heard the concerns raised about that flight coming in here between 2 and 3 o'clock a couple of mornings ago. Are you, first of all, social media is known for its lies. They said 250 people, which is a flagrant lie, okay? But are you concerned about that happening? The fact that while there's a shutdown in China, I mean, a lot of...
Yeah, but having said that, the shutdown, as I said, was around the Wuhan area. China is a massive country. So if 8 very wealthy people, and they have to be, to charter a private jet from China, and the reports suggest that at least one Chinese embassy car was there to meet them. So these are important people. I would be surprised if they had not, in fact, as has been reported, been screened properly before leaving and were screened on arrival. I've seen some people asking what sort of screening could they go through. Well, the screening has to do, it's very simple. We went through this with SARS. You are looking for elevated temperature and then for obvious signs of coughing or sneezing or running eyes or whatever it is, as the case may be. I mean, I have seen some people in the airport from time to time who I just move away from. Nothing to do, and there's people who have the common cold. So exercise prudence. But I am not overly concerned over the fact that a private chartered jet with wealthy people arrived here. They were met by the Chinese embassy, so I would expect that the appropriate fees were paid to the airport authority. They didn't just turn up out of the blue.
All right. So Allan is not too concerned. Let's see where this goes. Amy, thanks a lot, sir. I missed your weekly humor this morning. I mean, you were pretty serious this morning because we're dealing with serious issues here. Okay?
Yeah.
And by the way, just going back to that video you talked about a little while ago, I saw that video. Somebody placed it on
That's the Calypsonian we're talking about?
Yeah. And you know, to tell you the honest truth, Allan, the person insisted that I listen to this. I listened twice. And I still haven't been able to grasp what was being said. So hence the reason I do appreciate you sitting here this morning and explaining what you did. I'm going to go back and listen to your explanation a little later on today and absorb. Thank you very much, Mr. B. Don't go.
You're welcome.
Don't go. Don't go. Allan's not going to go away. Folks, time to pull the curtain down on today's edition of Gudday Grenada. Thank you very much for joining us. Here's an invitation to join me again tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, I think it is? Yeah, for the next edition of Gudday Grenada.